Welcome to Moretospacethanair with Ayomide Adefejidemole. Today I have with me a very dear friend and colleague in the field, Mclee Kerolle, who is a graduate of the International Institute of Air and Space Law at Leiden University, where he wrote his master's thesis on the regulation of commercial spaceports worldwide. During his time at Leiden, Mclee worked at the International Association for the Advancement of Space Safety, where his responsibilities focused on researching third-party liability issues associated with commercial human spaceflight. He also served as the Executive Secretary for the Space Generation Advisory Council and is currently an active member of the Diversity Action Team, an effective and adaptive governance for a lunar ecosystem action team. In addition, Mclee is the program director for the Caribbean Space Society, a working group of the Institute of Caribbean Studies that aims to establish a unified Caribbean space agenda. Thank you so much for making time out to be with me, Mclee, that you accepted my invitation.
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. And then just hearing my bio read back, I was like, wow, I have done a lot of stuff in the space industry. There really is never a straight path.
We all feel that way sometimes. And talking about your bio, can I please ask that you introduce us to the real Mclee and lead us through your career in space and any other interesting thing that you might want to share?
I'd love to. So yeah, like Ayo said, my name is Mclee Kerolle. I'm a first generation Haitian-American space lawyer from New York. I still consider myself early to mid-career at this point. Because yeah, the space industry is very, the road less traveled, very niche. But like you said, my career started in Leiden University. But actually before that, when I was in law school, in CUNY, I think that's where I could say my career started, because I wrote a law review article on space being the future of public interest. And that was after I saw the spaceport in New Mexico. So I'd say 2011 is when the first idea popped in my head that space law could even be a thing. Because when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I had to enroll into Leiden. And then after that, like you said, they had set me up with an externship at the International Association for the Advancement of Space Safety. And I've done the work with SJC, and I've done a couple other nonprofits like the Moon Village Association and Space Court Foundation and Satellite Industry Association. Currently, though, I serve as the Government Affairs Manager for Warp Space USA, Space Japan, and we specialize in developing optical communication satellites. So that's the next level of satellite technology, and it's gonna enable LEO satellites to communicate in near real time. So that's pretty cool and exciting.
I would say that as well. That is really cool and exciting. But what does it mean to be a space law attorney?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a very loaded question. I mean, I think even if you think from like a philosophical way, it means literally taking the road less traveled, literally, because this is space. There's no roads at all. And it also means even if you have a moment of second guessing yourself in the actual industry or about the path you take, deep down, you know you're not second guessing yourself because you wanted to be here. Not a lot of people take that leap to become a space lawyer, and that's something that I wanted to do. And at the very least, it's a cool conversation starter, because when people ask you, oh, what are you doing? What's your career? And you say you're a space lawyer, just blows their mind, because people think that space law means just you're working for NASA. No, there's a whole bunch of other companies out there. There's a whole big world outside of NASA. And NASA lawyers, they're just, for the most part, they're just actually contract lawyers. But space law, there's a whole outer space treaty, so you can do international politics. There's a lot of space lawyers who do things in academia. For me, in my instance, I am in the commercial side right now. But like, as you heard in my bio, I've gone from the nonprofit sector into the commercial side.
Awesome. So how will you define your role in the industry? Who would you say are maybe the major players, and how does your role interact with them?
Another good question. You're definitely, yeah. How do you define yourself? It's it's so hard because like I say, like I'm saying, this industry, it's literally happening in real time. It's like history in the making. But ultimately, I'd want to consider myself like a kingmaker, you know, someone who knows like I'm a mover, I'm a shaker, I'm a producer. I understand how the industry works and how the future might look in the industry. And something that I find interesting about the space industry itself, because we all know space itself is massive, the industry for all intents and purposes is quite small, right? And it's pretty disconnected. So I'm trying to connect a lot of things, a lot of players together. And of course, when we talk about major players, people think of things like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and the other big prime contractors. And when interacting in the space ecosystem, or like the orbit for a pun, it's hard not to feel the effect of these big companies, right? Because SpaceX are doing a great job. They're offering services at cheaper prices, but they're not the only one. Like I said, space is huge. There's literally room for everyone. On a personal level, though, I consider major players are people who can balance action and theory, especially becoming a space lawyer. There's a lot of theory that happens. A lot of people talking about like, oh, we should do this, we should do this, but there's not a lot of action. And you can tell when there's people who balance it right, like the big primes. And that might be because of they have people numbers or they've been in the game longer. But in certain respects, you can definitely balance both, especially in the policy sector.
You mentioned that you're a first generation Haitian-American. How were you able to transition into this role? And what has been the challenges that you would consider obstacles to your entrance into the space industry, and any advice to young professionals who are currently looking to tow the same route?
Yeah, it's hard like transitioning in a role because you won't learn everything from school, right? So a lot of things is learning as you go. So I just have to keep trucking forward, and like applications after applications, interviews after interviews, that kind of stuff helps until you finally get to a spot. And I'm not sure if I had mentioned this earlier, but there's literally no blueprint. If anyone tells you there's a straight path to becoming a space lawyer, they're probably lying. Like I said, this is literally history in the making. So the best advice I can give, it's almost like something I said earlier. It's to understand how you feel in the face of other voices without second guessing yourself. Literally never second guess yourself. That's probably the most important and single thing that you can practice and develop. And you know why you chose to be a space lawyer, not why the next person did it, but you know why you did it. So don't undermine yourself or your dreams, especially when you have setbacks, right? Because that defeats the whole purpose of why you're doing this. That's not what the process is about. The process is I'm taking the road less traveled. I'm showing everyone else how to do it. You can like it or not, but either way, this is what we're doing it. We're getting into space law. It's the future.
Wow, you're preaching to the church. Thank you so much. That is so profound. I am inspired. Like, thank you for that. Okay, so my last question to you would be, what direction do you foresee the industry is going? And what do you predict will be the demand for young professionals, and how can we get more involved?
I mean, there's a lot of numbers out there that are saying like by 2040, which we're less than 2 decades now, the space industry will be the first $1 trillion industry. So yeah, like I said, we're less than 2 decades. So if that's going to happen, you're going to need a lot of young professionals. Like the demand has to increase. So like the best way for young professionals to get involved is you just have to put yourself out there. I mean, there's various ways you could do it. Just joining professional organization, going to conferences. If you're an introvert, just write. I remember one of my professors would say, publish or perish. You know, there's a whole bunch of academic journals out there. So yeah, they'll happily take what you are writing. And especially if you're writing on something that's not commonplace, because a lot of the big topic right now is space debris and space traffic management. There's literally like a lot more to space. Like I was saying, optical communication satellites, deep space travel. Yeah, there's a lot that you could write about. So just put yourself out there because the demand is definitely coming.
You're dropping a lot of germs, and I really hate to see you go. But could you give us your concluding remarks?
Yeah, so anyone future, especially, talking to the youth, if you're trying to become a space lawyer, try to at least come up with some kind of game plan earlier, like determine what kind of, because it's a very niche field, like I said, but there's a few paths you can take. You can go the academic route, right? The commercial or business route, government policy, the nonprofit, the NGO route, or the startup route, right? It'll just make things easier, if you have a little direction to your path. And even when you're on that path, don't be afraid, if it's not working out, to jump to another path. And it's not impossible. It's not easy at the same time, but it's there's no straight path to what you take. It's really about the path that you make.
Thank you so much for that, Mclee. If people want to connect with you, maybe they have questions or just looking to connect with you on a more professional level, how can they do that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is linkedin.com/your friendly neighborhood space lawyer. So it's not even my name, just remember, your friendly neighborhood space lawyer. Just put that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for making time out to speak with me today. From us at Moretospacethanair, we're really grateful that you honored the invitation, and I wish you all the best of luck in your future endeavors. Have a good one.
Thank you to everybody watching Moretospacethanair. It's been a great interview.